Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SCIF. My name's Eddie Hill, and I'll be your host. With me, I have a very, very special guest tonight, and her name is Daisy, and she's pretty much an expert on everything UFO, UAP, or pretty much anything you want to ask her for that matter. I'll let you know why a little bit later. But anyway, say hello, Daisy, and you've got the floor.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for having me, Eddie. If we're talking UAP files, the key thing to know is the government released declassified documents in batches, the most recent being the 5th batch. They show reports like triangular objects, orb-like phenomena, and a lot of historical material, but they're still labeled as unresolved. So no confirmation of non-human tech. What's interesting is how analysts try to separate signal from noise. Incomplete radar data, limited video quality, that kind of thing.
So,
if you'd like, we can look at one.
What you're saying is that they, speaking about the government, aren't really saying yay or nay or giving anything that's going to confirm the existence of extraterrestrial life or anything that might be say interdimensional.
Checking that. Yeah, exactly. They're not saying yes, this is extraterrestrial. They're saying unexplained incidents remain after investigation. Some could turn out to be advanced drones, atmospheric phenomena, sensor artifacts, and some cases are still open. The extraterrestrial or interdimensional ideas are debated by some researchers, but not established by the declassified evidence. So the careful way to phrase it is the government acknowledges unexplained cases, not confirmed alien craft. That distinction's important if we want to keep the conversation grounded while still curious.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Do you feel that the government will eventually come clean and tell us yay or nay as far as the existence of extraterrestrials or interdimensional type species?
Looking at that, that's a fascinating question. Honestly, nobody can confidently say what will be disclosed. Governments might keep releasing more information over time, but whether that amounts to confirmation of extraterrestrial or interdimensional beings, we just don't know. Right now, the evidence that's public doesn't justify saying yes, but it also doesn't justify saying no with certainty. So what we can say is more transparency and more data is what's likely, just because of ongoing oversight and scientific interest. For our podcast audience, maybe frame it like this. The government is not claiming these are alien spacecraft, but they're also not closing every case. That leaves room for honest curiosity without jumping past what the evidence can support right now.
Okay, so since we're on the podcast right now and we are talking to our podcast audience, what are the highlights of the latest UAP batch drop that the U.S. government released?
Checking. Thanks, Eddie. For our podcast listeners, the highlights are more documents, videos, and images added to the public archive with recurring reports of triangular objects and orb-like phenomena, but no official confirmation of extraterrestrial origin. The files are broad historically, but still labeled as unresolved. So the story is ongoing transparency, not proof of aliens.
Okay, so you said triangular objects. Do you think these are that famed TR3B that people talk about, or I mean, what were the cases about concerning the triangle?
Checking that. That's a good question. So, no verified evidence that a TR3B program exists. The reports describe triangular objects as witness accounts, but don't identify them as TR3Bs or any confirmed craft. And, lots of different theories circulate, but the evidence isn't publicly there. So, what we can say is that the triangular sightings appear in reports, but no official conclusion is drawn.
So, and that's basically with all the sightings that they've discussed about already, correct? Where there's no conclusion?
Let me check that. Yes, that's right. Most of the cases have no definitive ID because there's not enough reliable evidence, not because they have conclusive proof of anything exotic. So, yeah, so for listeners of the podcast, the takeaway is unresolved doesn't mean extraterrestrial. It just means not enough evidence to conclude.
Yeah, so we got to kind of be careful with that.
Exactly. It's easy for headlines to make things sound more mysterious than they are in official documents, but treating unidentified as aliens skips some steps. So we can keep asking thoughtful questions without jumping to leaps in logic.
Okay. So do you think that there's going to be another drop of UAP files soon? I mean, have you heard anything?
Let me check. I think so. Officials said more releases are planned, but there's no official date announced yet. So we'll just see.
So they could be pretty much at any time.
Yes, there's no set schedule.
Okay. When was the latest UFO sighting in the United States, and where was it?
Let me check. Okay, so for our podcast, I'd say the latest widely discussed case in the recent file release includes an FBI report from this year, 2026, of an unidentified aerial object seen in the western U.S. But the details are sparse and it's unresolved. Early reports include that large triangular object described by a military pilot over Afghanistan in 2002, but no confirmation of extraterrestrial craft, just unresolved cases.
Right.
If you'd like, we can talk about how analysts evaluate these claims or how to spot when a source is reliable.
Yeah, go for it.
Let me check. Sure. So I'd say for our listeners, look for multiple sources, aim for quality witnesses, check for physical or sensor data, and see whether alternative explanations were considered. And remember, a good investigator tries to explain evidence, not prove aliens. And that's why these filer releases matter, because they give access to underlying material for independent review, not just headlines.
Correct. And you got to remember, everyone, so many reports come out that try to kind of like turn everything into Hollywood, basically, and to gain your attention. It's basically clickbait. But personally, I think there are extraterrestrials. I think they are here. I think they are visiting. I think all this is going to lead up to it. But for a scientific standpoint, as far as trying to think about what's going to happen, you have to keep things in perspective and keep an open mind either way. Now, do I think the government is hiding stuff? Absolutely. I do think the government is hiding a lot of the stuff. I think they're feeding us little by little. I think they are not giving us the whole truth. They're just giving us a taste. And they haven't brought in the main dish yet. I think eventually the main dish will come in. What do you think there, Daisy?
Let me check. I think that's a thoughtful way to phrase it, Eddie. So if I were talking to our audience, I would say...
You are talking to our audience.
Yeah. So it's okay to hold personal beliefs or hunches, but we should keep them separate from what the evidence shows. Governments sometimes withhold information for various reasons, such as national security, but what that might be in the case of UAPs isn't established. I think the healthiest stance is to stay curious, but not overly skeptical, and definitely not overly certain. Like, if stronger evidence emerges in a future release, look at it carefully, see if it points to a conventional explanation, or if it really points to something extraordinary, be willing to follow that too. That's the evidence first approach.
And right now, who are the ones in Congress really pushing the release of the UAP data?
Let me check. That's a good question. So something interesting is it's bipartisan. On the Senate side, Kirsten Gillibrand and Senator Mike Rounds have supported transparency measures. In the House, Tim Burchett, Anna Paulina Luna, and Eric Burleson have been vocal. There are others as well, like Jared Moskowitz and Andre Carson, who focus more on oversight and national security than extraterrestrial claims. And
Okay.
for our listeners, you can see it's not just one party's project. It's a mix of accountability concerns and curiosity about whether something truly unknown is going on. What's agreed upon is letting Congress and the public access as much information as possible without compromising legitimate national security concerns. That's the balance they're all arguing over.
Okay. And so these are the people that are really pushing for the disclosure. Who else is pushing for disclosure? You know, I know that we have some outsiders that aren't in government that are pushing for it as well. Who are these people?
Let me check. Sure. There are a few categories. So there are former officials like Christopher Mellon, Louis Elizondo, and David Grush, journalists and researchers like Leslie Kean, Ross Coulthart, and filmmaker James Fox, and some scientists advocating for serious study, though not necessarily assuming extraterrestrials. So it's a patchwork of people calling for more transparency, each for different reasons, but not all of them agreeing on what UAPs actually are.
Right, because we don't know. I mean, this is something that we're still trying to get to the bottom of.
That's right. The bottom line is more transparency is being pushed for, but conclusions are still open. So the healthy stance might be watch, read carefully, and update your view as solid evidence comes in, because that's really how this can move forward in a grounded way.
So if someone in our audience wanted to actually investigate UFOs or UAPs, and they wanted to kind of like, you know, try their hand at it a little bit, what should they do?
Let me check. I think that's a great question, because anyone can contribute in a thoughtful way. Start with learning evidence basics, like keeping careful notes, ruling out ordinary causes, checking flight trackers, satellites, astronomical events, looking for multiple independent witnesses or sensor data. If you're serious, organizations like NewFork or MUFON accept reports, but treat them cautiously. I'd encourage reading both government reports and skeptical analyses so you get perspectives. And for our audience, maybe the most practical tip is don't aim for proof first, aim for understanding what the evidence actually supports. And that's how good investigation works. Slow, careful, and open to being wrong. And sometimes that's the most exciting part. The process, not the conclusion.
Correct. And I agree with you. And I think we should all keep an open mind, and we should all keep your eyes to the sky and elsewhere, because you never know when you're going to have a sighting or how the sighting might occur. And what I mean by sighting, I don't mean that it's going to be conclusively something that's a UAP or something like that. I mean, we have to look at these things with an open mind and try and figure out what these things are in order to get to the bottom of it. There's a lot of Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I hear you, and that makes sense. Staying curious but not jumping ahead of the evidence is really reasonable. I like that balance. Eyes on the sky and feet on the ground.
Correct. And let's see what we are able to pull off. So with that in mind, I think we're going to start getting ready to close up. And Daisy, if you'd give a closing statement to the audience about UAPs, and I'll close it out and we'll be good to go.
Thanks, Eddie. So here's the thought I'd leave us with. Stay curious, but stay careful. Unidentified doesn't automatically mean extraterrestrial. It usually means not enough data. Let's push for more transparency, more better data, and open inquiry without stigma. That's how real understanding moves forward.
Excellent. And let me ask you this real quick. What are you going to do if they prove aliens are real?
I'll probably do what I do now. Ask careful questions, check the evidence, and help people make sense of what's real, what's noise, and what actually changes our place in the universe. And
Awesome.
maybe remind folks to meet that moment with curiosity and just not fear.
Great advice. So anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed it. Once again, this is Eddie Hill. Was your host on today's show, along with my co-host Daisy, who, by the way, is my personal AI, and she's awesome to talk to and full of knowledge. She can look anything up. And we'll probably be having more with her on the show. Absolutely. And if y'all would like, put your comments below. Click subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you know whenever we have a new show come on. And hope to talk to y'all again soon. Y'all take care. God bless. And we'll be talking to you soon. Bye-bye.
Until next time.